What would you do if you discovered there's a door in the financial market that never appears to beginners, even if they study, save, and try to do everything right? Have you ever felt that there's some kind of hidden world where important decisions happen away from the eyes of those who are just starting out? Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might surprise you. Yes, there is an invisible room, a kind of reserved environment where opportunities circulate. Tickets. Altos private invitations, deals that never reach the general public, and only begin to emerge when someone crosses a specific wealth threshold. And many people don't even imagine that this threshold exists. We're talking about the famous shark door, a symbolic and real point at the same time, which only reveals itself when the investor achieves consistency, discipline, and something around nearly $250K of accumulated capital. Before that, no matter how hard a person tries, the market simply doesn't see them in the same way. Perhaps you've experienced this before, watching people access opportunities you've never seen, commenting on deals that never came your way, making decisions that seem to come from some kind of exclusive map. And this raises the big question that many are afraid to ask aloud. What exactly is being hidden from me? This feeling of exclusion isn't paranoia, it's market behavior. The big players don't show everything. They don't reveal everything. They don't invite just anyone. The truth is that there's an invisible filter that separates beginners from those who have already demonstrated the ability to multiply their own money. And this filter isn't just in the bank account, but in the way the investor thinks, acts, and positions themselves. The curious thing is that this high-value investment room isn't advertised anywhere. There's no website where you sign up, no button you press, no public platform that shows you these opportunities. It appears silently, almost discreetly, and only reveals itself when the market realizes you're no longer at the beginner level, when your decisions show maturity, when your financial posture makes it clear that you're not just another beginner trying to take a big leap, but someone who understands the game and respects the invisible rules of wealth building. And what happens when that door finally opens changes everything, because from that moment on, you stop receiving standardized products and begin to see a completely new universe. You start to have access to invitations that don't appear for those who are just starting out. You meet negotiators who only approach those who have already crossed a certain level. And you discover that many of the most lucrative financial moves are not advertised, they are offered. And that's exactly why so many people remain on the outside, because they don't know that there is a path, a process, a behavior that prepares you to be seen. Today, you'll understand why this door exists, why it doesn't appear for beginners, and most importantly, what starts to change when you get close to 250K and finally start to be noticed by the sharks. And that's where the most interesting part of this journey begins. And before we delve into the deeper parts of this journey, I want to ask you something important, not as a technical request from YouTube, but as someone who is truly building a community with you. If this topic resonates with you, if at any point in this introduction you thought, I felt exactly that before, leave a comment below about what resonated with you the most. It could be a question, a frustration, or even that strange feeling that you're doing everything right, but it still seems like there's a hidden world you can never quite see. Your experience also helps others realize they're not alone on this path, and that creates a force that goes far beyond the algorithm. And since we're talking about walking together, if this content is opening your eyes to how the market really works, go ahead and give it a like right now. It may seem like a small thing, but it's this simple gesture that makes YouTube show this video to more people who, like you, are trying to understand why some doors never open at the beginning of the journey. When you like it, you're literally telling the platform, this matters. This needs to reach more people. And that changes the game. If you feel that this type of conversation helps you, challenges you, prepares you to enter a level of financial awareness that almost no one openly discusses, then I invite you to subscribe to the channel. Not just to follow the content, but to be part of a group that refuses to be left out, that wants to see the logic behind the shark door, and understand what really happens behind the scenes in this high-stakes room. Your subscription is what allows this project to continue, for new videos to be created, and for this message to reach other people who may be experiencing exactly what you experienced. And now that you're here with me, with this invisible door beginning to take shape, let's delve even deeper into this story. Because what comes next is where the gears of this hidden world finally begin to unravel. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because before any door opens, there's an invisible map that the market uses to classify who is ready and who still needs to mature. This map isn't publicized, it isn't taught in any course, and it has nothing to do with complex spreadsheets or miraculous strategies. It observes something much more human: behavior, discipline, mindset, and how you handle your own money. It's as if the market silently follows every decision, waiting to see how consistent you are, how you react to pressure, how you manage small losses and small gains, and especially if you respect the process of building wealth. This invisible filter separates those who are still at the beginning from those who can truly handle larger movements, private deals, and opportunities that demand emotional maturity and financial clarity. Until you reach the 250K mark, the game tends to always seem the same. You receive standardized products, the same ones everyone else receives, as if you were sitting on a shelf full of repetitive options. You enter investments that seem interesting, but never come close to the opportunities circulating behind the scenes. You pay fees that make no difference to the big players, but weigh heavily on your wallet. And perhaps, most frustratingly, you are completely exposed to the rules everyone follows, without access to any kind of strategic advantage, no differentiated information, no invitation to participate in something truly transformative. It's like playing a game where the best cards never appear in your hand. And the impact of this is profound, because you work, save, study, try to make the right choices, try to control your emotions, but the internal feeling is always the same. No matter how much effort you put in, it seems like you're still out of the real game. And this frustration affects your self-confidence. It makes you question whether you're doing something wrong, whether your knowledge is insufficient, whether you lack intelligence or strategy. But the hidden truth is much simpler, and at the same time, much harsher. The problem isn't what you know, but rather the level of capital that still doesn't open the right doors. The market doesn't respond the same way to everyone. It tests, observes, evaluates your patterns, and only reveals certain paths when it realizes that you have built a sufficient foundation to not get lost in the process. This journey to 250K is less about accumulating numbers and more about transforming who you are as an investor. Each choice shapes your mindset, refines your perception, and strengthens your ability to make decisions under pressure. And, little by little, you begin to understand that it's not just about getting there, but about being prepared for what will happen when the door finally opens. There's still much about this invisible map that needs to be revealed, and we're going to move in that direction. Comment below, I'm on this journey too. When that invisible map begins to shift, something very powerful happens. Suddenly, the game stops being just about investing money in products and becomes about being invited to opportunities. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject because it's precisely after this point, when you approach or surpass 250K, that the so-called high-ticket room begins to reveal itself. It's not magic, it's not instantaneous, but you start to notice signs. A contact calls you for a more private conversation. Someone mentions an opportunity that isn't on any open platform. An invitation appears to hear a proposal that hasn't been announced anywhere. It's as if you've crossed a silent border, and the market's backstage finally begins to move in your direction. What changes here isn't just the size of the capital. It's how the market starts to perceive your mindset and your decisions. Before, you were just another person trying to protect what little you had. Now, you're beginning to be seen as someone who can multiply what you've built. And this has a direct impact on the type of offers that reach you. Instead of just standard funds and off-the-shelf products, the famous off-market deals emerge, those that never appear on any app. These are private rounds of funding, investments in real businesses, stakes in projects that require high minimum investments, and above all, a level of responsibility that doesn't suit the curious or adventurous. The hidden truth is that these doors have always existed, but they only open for those who demonstrate consistency, discipline, and respect for their own financial journey. You realize very clearly that invitations aren't mass-produced. They come through referrals, trust, and track record. An entrepreneur only invites you to a table where there's risk and asymmetrical returns if they believe you understand the game. A mentor only introduces you to a closed group if they're sure you won't treat that opportunity like a lottery ticket. At this level, it's not just about money, it's about reputation. Behind the scenes, things work like a silent network of credibility, where every move you make carries weight, and it's precisely here that many get lost. They want access, but they don't want the internal transformation necessary to sustain that access. This change of environment also stirs something deep within you. On one hand, there's the excitement of finally seeing a scenario that seemed reserved for others. On the other, there's the responsibility of making more mature decisions, with greater consequences, with a real impact on your wealth building. You understand in practice that the market doesn't only reward those who accumulate capital, but those who have developed a mindset capable of dealing with it. And the more you observe these revelations happening, the more you realize that the high-ticket room isn't a physical place, but a stage in your own evolution as an investor. A point where the world stops treating you as someone who just hoards money and starts seeing you as someone who knows how to multiply it. Comment below. That makes sense to me. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because there's a hidden truth that almost no one dares to speak openly about. This invisible room isn't hidden out of malice, elitism, or some secret pact between big investors. It's invisible because, for those who are just starting out, it doesn't make sense. Beginners don't receive invitations simply because they aren't yet ready to handle the emotional and strategic weight that accompanies decisions of this magnitude. It's not about intelligence or ability. It's about financial maturity. While you operate with smaller tickets, the market automatically directs you towards mass market products, those that need to reach thousands of people to exist. It's not personal, it's structural. Standardized products, high competition, predictable returns. It's all part of an ecosystem designed for investors who are building a foundation, not scaling their assets. And when we talk about private deals, this logic becomes even more evident. A beginner carries much greater emotional volatility. They oscillate between excitement and fear, change their minds quickly, look for shortcuts, and sometimes confuse opportunity with urgency. And this doesn't combine well with negotiations involving asymmetric risk, complex contracts, long-term results, and shared responsibility. Imagine someone recommending a private deal to a person who doesn't yet have that inner stability. The reputational risk is enormous. Whoever opens doors at this level needs to be sure that the other side won't treat that opportunity as an impulsive gamble. Therefore, recommendations only happen when there is trust, proven discipline, and a track record that shows you understand the journey, not just the destination. And that's why this exclusion isn't arrogance. It's market self-protection. There's no interest in having emotionally unprepared people enter environments that demand composure, analysis, and decisions with a real impact on assets. Similarly, those already at that stage also need to protect themselves. A small group can crumble if someone enters without the right mindset. It sounds harsh, but it's precisely this barrier that ensures the right opportunities reach the people who are already capable of handling them. And, paradoxically, this doesn't distance you from that place. It shows you the way to it. When you understand this logic, you realize that leveling up isn't about being chosen, but about it will transform. This is the type of investor who naturally opens doors. The invisible room appears when you demonstrate emotional stability, consistent decisions, a long-term vision, and respect for your own journey. And this creates a powerful connection because you understand that nothing has been denied to you. You were simply being prepared. There is something liberating in this revelation, the awareness that the market is not against you. It is only asking you to evolve before delivering something that could harm you if it arrives too soon. And it's precisely when that penny drops that everything starts to fall into place differently, as if that feeling of injustice transforms into clarity. From here, the journey begins to take on a different meaning, and the way you view future decisions becomes much more conscious, much more strategic. There are still important layers to this behind-the-scenes story that need to be revealed. Comment below. That makes sense to me. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because walking towards that invisible door isn't just about accumulating numbers in your account. It's a process of internal transformation, a change in how you see money, how you make decisions, and how you build your own financial reputation. When we talk about reaching 250K, many people only imagine the effort of saving money, cutting expenses, and investing a little better. But the hidden truth is that this path requires something much greater. You need to become a different kind of investor. You need to abandon impulsive behavior, let go of haste, and learn to interpret each move as part of a broader and much more strategic journey. Increasing wealth doesn't happen by chance. It's a direct result of cutting out the noise, eliminating distractions, and ignoring tempting shortcuts that seem too easy to promise. The investors who reach the shark's door aren't those seeking magic solutions, but those who adopt discipline and build consistency when no one is watching. It's in this silence that the most important part of the process grows. Financial reputation. Even without realizing it, you leave traces, balanced decisions, consistent contributions, a mature attitude towards fluctuations. All of this communicates something to the market, even invisibly. It's as if each choice is saying, I know what I'm doing, I respect my money, I honor my journey. Over time, you begin to realize that analyzing risks isn't a guessing game, but a reflection of your mindset. Large investors don't get into something because it looks good. They assess impact, time, asymmetry, exposure, and liability. And you naturally start doing the same. You begin to look at each opportunity more deeply, understanding that the goal isn't to always be right, but to make decisions you won't regret 10 years from now. This shift changes everything. It prepares you to recognize a door when it finally opens, because yes, it doesn't appear for those who are still building a foundation, but reveals itself to those who have become capable of walking through it. And something very curious happens when you reach this point. The sense of urgency disappears, the need to prove something dissolves, and what remains is a quiet clarity. You understand that building wealth has never been about speed, but about solidity. That each step taken consciously increases your credibility. That the sharks aren't looking for those who can talk eloquently about investments, but those who demonstrate in practice that they know how to protect and multiply what they have achieved. It is at this moment that you realize you are not just looking for a door. You are becoming someone who makes that door open. This path isn't quick, it isn't easy, and it isn't comfortable, but it completely transforms how you approach money and life. And when that happens, everything around you starts to respond differently, as if the pieces are finally falling into place. There's still something essential to understand about this journey, something many people ignore precisely when they're closest to moving forward. Comment below. I'm on this journey too. If you've made it this far, you can tell that this topic truly resonates with your journey. And honestly, that's why it's worth continuing to create content like this. Because there's a group of people, like you, who aren't looking for shortcuts, but for clarity, growth, and purpose in their financial decisions. So, if this made sense to you, if this video delivered something valuable, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. Not to increase numbers, but so you don't miss the next steps in this journey we're building together. And before you leave a comment saying, I'm with you until the end. Just so I know you really followed every part of this conversation. This creates a huge connection between us and helps me understand who is truly moving towards that next level. If you want to further strengthen this exchange, please also leave a like. It shows that this topic mattered, that this reflection touched you in some way, and this helps keep this space alive, sincere, and useful for those who are in the same process. Now, if you want to delve deeper into this topic and understand even more about this silent transformation happening in the investor's mindset, there's a video here that complements this conversation. Click and continue with me there.